calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Om Amoga Vairocana Maha Mudra Manipadme Chavala Privataya
Please stand and face the altar for the chanting of the pages. We'll first chant in Sino-Korean. Our tradition comes with our founder, Venerable Samosum, from the mountain monasteries of South Korea. So if you're new, do a sound practice and try to throw your sound in. Just letting the sound come is quite a practice. And one English translation. There are many. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
And let us remember. It's the 25th today, right? On this 25th day of November 2024, we acknowledge that this land where our temple buildings stand has been the home of Native peoples, the Potawatomi, the Ottawa, and the Ojibwe, the Council of the Three Fire Tribes, and also of Black Americans. We know that this neighborhood used to be a historically Black neighborhood during the times of racial segregation and oppression. For our own awakening and for the awakening of all life, may the benevolent energies of our meditation, chanting, and full presence here at this service this morning extend to all beings on this planet and throughout time and space. May there be deepening of our interbeing. May peace prevail and wars cease. We're going to have a completely different service from now on. Just from now on today. Nearing Thanksgiving, autumn mingling with winter, this week a full moon, bare branched trees reaching up to the heavens, and here and there a flower in bloom. We gathered Chinese greens and turnips from the garden yesterday. Woohoo! Welcome in from the 10 directions and good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
So, something I wanted to read to you. Two things. If you seek the noble wisdom of the Buddhas, dhyana samadhi, deep concentration, is essential. For without deep concentration, diluted and distorted dreamlike thoughts and projections arise, confused and tumultuous, and our roots of goodness suffer damage. There was a woman by the name of Anne Bragen who said, "In every age, no matter how cruel the oppression carried on by those in power, there have been those who have struggled for a different world. I believe this is the genius of humankind, the thing that makes us half divine, the fact that some human beings can envision a world that has never existed." There has been much reaction. We'll be sitting down. Yeah. But stay standing right now. Breathe. Feel your body's presence in this room, a little warm. Special. There has been much reaction to the recent election. Causes and Conditions brought to me a film from the East Bay Meditation Center, who hosted Lama Rod Owens and Angela Davis to speak, and Prentice Hemphill to facilitate. And I felt part of the film might be good for our Sangha members to watch and hear. Hear from these two a radical conversation, something quite precious and not usually what we've been hearing. Lama Rod Owens has written several books, one of them called Radical Dharma. He's ordained in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and he has a master's degree, Masters of Divinity from Harvard. And much more, you'll see. Angela Davis, you might have heard of her, it's has been for many years, since 1972 when she was imprisoned for 2 years, accused of murder. And it became a worldwide issue. She was eventually released and declared innocent. She's a human rights activist, a scholar, a college teacher, and an author, and also quite a character, you'll see. The question and answer that you'll see is for quite a diverse Sangha. Really diverse, much more so than ours. It's said to be the most diverse of Sangha in the United States and possibly in the world. So that will be something you kind of can be interested to be part of and see what it's like. For your information, Arbor Zen Buddhist Temple is a 501c3 religious organization. And that means that we are tax exempt. So when this was declared, it was felt that 501c3 organizations were a service to the community. And so all of the community. And so the tax exemptions were offered. And a part of that is, and it was stated decades and decades ago, that the organization, in our case the temple, does not take a political side, but that people of all persuasions are always welcome. So we are not supposed to be subject to political influence. But it means also that every person then makes up their own mind within our organization. Okay, so please be seated and set yourself so you can see this big stretch of wall, because we're going to see a film. And some of you on this side might want to move over, sit on the benches, see how it is for you.
I'm trying to get inspiration from Tallulah, so we'll work it out together. Hello, everyone. Wow, lovely to see you all, and what an incredible honor this invitation has been. So thank you, EBMC, for extending that to me, and I'm so grateful and humbled to be on the stage with the both of you. Deeply moved by this experience, and if I weren't sitting on the stage, I would want to be here or live streaming. So I'm going to try to stand in the place of all of you and ask some questions and hopefully guide this conversation and reveal what it is that we really, I think, need in this gathering together. So it's kind of hard when you're like, I'm so curious, I have so many questions. Where do we begin? But I think to begin us, I want to name what it is I think is here. It was prescient to create this event on the other side of selection, regardless of what was going to happen. It was important for us to gather. But now on this side of it, my sense from talking to people, from being a human, is that we are all experiencing a lot. There's a multiplicity of things happening inside of us and on social media and everywhere else that we gather. But some of the things just to ground us that I'm aware of, and I wonder if this resonates with you all, but I can feel our brokenheartedness. I can feel our rage. I can feel our grief, sense of betrayal, worry, fear, terror. All of it is here and much more, I'm sure. So I want to name that and ground us in that. I don't want us to skim over what we might all be feeling in this moment. But in all of that, I want to turn to you both with a question, which is, can you share from your perspective, your place, what is what time is it? You know, as Grace Liebald would direct us to ask, what time is it as far as you can see? What are you paying attention to? What do you see when you look out? Just to orient us, just to ground us.
I have to go.
Whoever is ready. That is to both of you.
I just want to hang out. Speechless. That's not common for me. Wow. Well, but first, before I begin, I just want to offer deep gratitude to our elder, Dr. Davis, for teaching us so much. It is an honor for me to be here. I don't necessarily believe that I've earned my seat here, but here I am. And I am too brokenhearted, but when I'm looking out at this crowd, this audience, I'm looking at folks who are ready to get free. Some of us thought Kamala was going to do it. Thought the Democrats were going to do it. They never done it before, but somehow we thought they were going to do it now. It's nice to dream. I think that it's like we want it to be easy. We want it to be real easy, but like getting free isn't easy. It ain't easy. It's work, it's labor. It takes us to the edge, right? And you have to step off the edge, right? Over and over and over again. Don't start. I come from preachers. Don't do it. But no, I think that it's time for us to get serious now. That no one's going to get us free. A government isn't going to get us free. A politician ain't going to get us free. Dr. Davis ain't going to get us free, right? Princess ain't going to get us free, right? At some point, we have to choose this for ourselves, right? We have to say yes, right? I think that's what I'm seeing. People are ready to say yes. And when we say yes, of course, the next question is, what are we willing to offer? What are we willing to put on the table now? Right? So that's what I have. Thank you.
I just thought of a story that Harry Belafonte used to tell. And it was about him looking for something he lost. What was it? I don't know, a piece of clothing or something. And he kept looking in the same drawer over and over again. And finally, his mother said, it ain't there. Why you keep looking for it in the same place? And I'm kind of thinking that that's our relationship to the Democratic Party. But if you had asked that question, Prentice, a week ago, a month ago, I probably would have wanted to celebrate how far we've come. I probably would have, wanted to talk about how phenomenal it is to live at a time when we have really learned how to stand up against racism, against patriarchy and homophobia and transphobia, and how we've learned to stand up against settler colonialism, especially in Palestine and Gaza right now. Because I'm really excited and really happy about that. But I've had to learn how to hold that intention with all of the pain and the suffering. And right now, it seems like we're tipping to the other side. So I'm not going to talk very long, but I want to maybe provide a different perspective, a planetary perspective, because oftentimes we myopically look at our own situations without asking ourselves, well, what does this mean for the world? What does this mean for the planet? And where are we? What time is it? And let me tell you, when I learned that Elon Musk acquired $26 billion more on the night of Trump's victory. So we are living in an obscene time. And we have to call capitalism what it is, because it's not just the man, it's a system of capitalism. And I just want us to pull back and acquire, and for a moment think from that kind of really large planetary perspective, the obscenity and the damages of capitalism and the increasing concentration of wealth into ever smaller numbers of people, and that wealth has been produced largely by polluting this planet, making this planet unlivable, not only for humans, but for all living beings. So that's a very sad perspective. But that's where we are. And I think we have to face up to it. And on the other hand, I think we can bring about change. I mean, I'm not completely depressed, even though it seems like I am. And I am. But, you know, I love Audre Lorde, who always reminded us that we can work even though we're depressed, that we can do 2 things or 5 things at one time. We can hold things in tension. So I'm also really excited about how we're going to figure out a way during this next period, and we will do it collectively.
I want to go into that just a little bit more here, and something about Cassandra's note of you as a professor saying, let's meet the text first with what I can learn here. I don't know, that really struck me, and I hope, you know, if anybody else needed that lesson, I hope that we can hold on to it. But I want to ask this question really of you, Dr. Davis, as an elder to all of us, but really specifically as someone that's been through some cycles of some flavor of what this might be. I'm curious if there are lessons or learnings or reminders that's arising to the top in this moment for you. Are there lessons from another time that are kind of coming forward that feel important to share? And I guess I just want to add one other piece to that of like lessons both about how we face the kind of external pressure, repression, et cetera, and how we also address the internal, the between us splitting and discord that can happen. If you have anything that comes to you.
Well, I was afraid I was going to be asked about, you know, the wisdom that you're supposed to acquire once you reach a certain age. And I turned 80 years old on my last birthday. But to tell the truth, I do not feel wise. Well, you know, there are a lot of reasons why. I think it's important for those of us who have accumulated experiences to share those experiences. But it's also, as I always try to point out, important for those of us who are older to be able to learn from those who are younger. Because after all, they represent our future. They're closer to the future. So I'm always mindful of not occupying that space of you know, being the elder with all of the wisdom to impart. But having said that, you know, I do think that that there's something about the long durée of struggle that makes it really important for those of us who've had the opportunity to accumulate experiences or struggles to share them, the moral, the spiritual, the aesthetic implications of those struggles. So, I mean, I'm happy to do that, but I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like what we are experiencing right now. And I was asking myself, how did we feel when Nixon was elected, or when Reagan? It wasn't like this. Even though we had a discourse about the dangers of fascism at the time, I cannot remember ever having felt this close. And so this is something entirely new that we're going to have to figure out as we do the work that will save us from this impending, it's not even impending threat. We thought we had evicted fascism from the White House. I think that's what makes it feel so terrible, because we thought we had already dealt with it, and he just keeps coming back. And it's not so much the figure that we're talking about, it's the class. And if I were to say what I think we're lacking in this moment, I would say that we're lacking a consciousness of the importance of the working class in this era of end stage capitalism, or whatever you want to call it. So I think that I'm willing to throw my hat in and do the work that's needed to do to try to figure out how we make it through this period. But I think all of us, of all ages, this is going to have to be a totally multi-generational struggle. And it's not going to be those of us who are older who are going to have the answers. I can tell you that this is like new, and it's terribly new. It's new with a terror.
Yeah, I want to move us, but I just want to feel that a little bit. Because I think it's something that a lot of us feel and know, and it's continuing to know more about it, letting it drop in, and listening to what it's going to require of us. Thank you. Lamrat, I have something, well, actually, I think it's a question in a way for both of you, if you feel compelled to answer. I want to talk about spirit, spirituality. Because here we are at the East Bay Meditation Center, who's been holding this space for this community for 17 years? 17 years now. And, in a way, spirit, sometimes it can be one of those words we don't really want to talk about. It's like the secret thing. I don't know, maybe it's not true anymore, but used to be true. Kind of quietly at your house do that. But I want to talk about it here. I want to talk about what you all understand about the role of spirit, as broadly defined as you wish. And maybe also a question of, what about faith related to that question of spirit? I'm really curious your thoughts on the role of spirit and the role of faith.
I think in this moment, when I think about spirits, it is this knowing that I am more than this moment. I'm more than the trauma. I'm more than the despair or the hopelessness. I'm more than the object of other people's domination or policing. That there's something that exists and transcends this moment that feels like the manifestation of rigidity. That I am fluid, spacious, free, boundless. I am unlimited. Even though this world tries to convince all of us that we are limited, that we're fixed and stuck in place. And spiritual practice, the spirit itself, is something that reminds me that I transcend this limitation, right? And that's where the faith in this moment lies. I know that I am this experience, right? And so it keeps me from falling really deep into the hopelessness and the despair in this moment. The hope, right? The hope which has been the backbone of my ancestors, right? The hope that kept them loving and building community and dreaming about freedom and working for that freedom generation after generation, despite their bodies being filled with this trauma, right? That every generation kept this hope that God is going to turn this around, which is rooted deep in the spirituality and the faith of Black people, right? And so I know that something else is going to happen because something else always happens, right? And my practice cannot meet that something else that's arising and say yes to it, right? Because I think one thing that's arising in this is a real invitation for us to die. Well, not a physical death. I'm not talking about physical death. I'm talking about, are we ready to let go of who we thought we were, right? Are we ready to let whiteness die, right? Are we ready to let the patriarchy die, right? And capitalism, right? Ableism, misogyny, everything. Are you ready to let those locations die? And as you let those locations die, are you willing to move through that dying and into the underworld to reclaim who we really are, which is not our race, which is not our gender, to reclaim the expression of who we are, which is essentially liberated, right? Are we ready for that, right? And so that's my practice. My practice in this moment is like, it's time for me to die, right? It's time for me to die, and it's time for me after that death to resurrect, right? Because that's what we've been working for and dreaming for, right? We can't get to that beloved community, that the abolitionist community, until we let the old shit die. Right? It's no longer serving us. And that's a hard process. And this is why we need community, right? We need our communities, our colleagues, our comrades, our elders to hold each other. We have to hold on tight but gently to each other as we move into this dark night, right? And we have to call on our ancestors to walk with us, to move through with us, right? And the only reason I'm here in this moment is because of the ancestors, right? Who keep showing up and saying, yeah, we never gave up. Like, we never gave up. And I know a lot of us want to give up, right? But I need you to keep going, right? And choosing this death, right? Because we don't have a choice anymore, right? We don't have any other choice but to move through this process. Right? Yeah.
I sort of have a follow-up question for you, which is, as we keep going, and maybe this can open up to both of you, is there a way? So one of the things that I've been talking to people about is just that some people feel fatigued, tired, and there's a mandate that we keep going. How do we do, maybe I'm skipping ahead in my own questions, but I felt it in that moment. How do we do the contraction, expansion, the whatever the rhythmic move is to keep going? What I worry about in this moment is that we got to keep going. And we're not tending to what we actually feel and the learning in what we feel of like, actually, I feel heartbroken. Actually, I'm not sure who I trust. Actually, I'm tired. That doesn't mean that stop there, but is it information that's important? How do we, and maybe it's the question of how do you do it over the long term? How do you do it as human beings who are alive? who maybe want to be alive. Like what is it that what do we hold on to? What's the story we tell? How do we animate ourselves into being in this over the long term, into doing the work, but doing it in a way that connects us rather than divides? I think ultimately that's the question at the core.
Can I try?
Yes.
You know, Prentice, maybe I can link this to the previous question about spirit. Because it seems to me that if we tackle this issue as something that we're going to deal with as individuals, then it is absolutely and utterly impossible. And I want to bring this back to the question of capitalism, because it's in the context of the individualism that is always promoted by capitalism that first and foremost we think of ourselves as individuals. And so, you know, what if we saw ourselves as individuals, but not first and foremost. First and foremost, as a community. Sorry, my corsage is coming off. I don't think I've had a corsage since I went to my high school prom. But thank you, EVMC. So, you know, what if we always thought of ourselves as collective beings first? So not as an individual who's going to have to carry the entire burden, not as someone who will be who'll make the process stop when we're tired, you know, but rather as collective beings, as interdependent beings who always work together, so that if one part of us is tired, then that part of us rests, and the rest keep going. And to me, that is what has always been the goal of communion and meditation. And I mean, I've had a meditation practice which I first started when I was in jail a long time ago, and it comes and goes. But it's always about feeling like I'm something more than what I am. And of course, capitalism always militates against that sense of community, that sense of collectivity, that sense that we are all doing this together, never only by ourselves. And that's why they stopped talking about the working class. You remember when they started talking about the middle class? Because the whole history of working class struggle is an injury to one is an injury to all. So I'm just wondering how we can cultivate a greater sense of being together and you know, perhaps dying together, but not as single solitary atoms that somehow find each other when we need to. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense to me. I mean, you can say anything and it makes sense to me, but I just, even like adding on to that, Dr. Davis, I just think that there's so many of us who
just call me Angela.
Well, but my mother's watching this. So I'm already getting a text probably right now. It's like, you better not call her. I mean, the best I can do is Miss Angela. But I'm gonna try my best. You made a request. I just think that, some of us are so exhausted because we are doing other people's work, right? And I think we have gotten confused. We've conflated our work with everyone else's work, and we're holding, carrying so much right now, and we don't have to be doing that, because this is a time where we all have to come on by now. Like we all have to do our work. We have to move to our front lines of our work. Like we can't live vicariously through other people making a choice to get free.
Goes on for about another 45 minutes. Let's stop here, go to our meditation mats and cushions, please. And we'll have a short period of meditation and then a question, which I will ask us to offer responses to. Whenever we get a load of information, we just really need to let ourselves settle down. So please take some slow deep breaths and then blow out on the exhalation. Even lifting our shoulders as we inhale and then release down toward gravity. A couple more times, doing what you do that helps you after you've had a lot going on and overloaded information. And then go to your meditation process. I say process instead of practice because everything is part of what comes in your meditation. Sit and watch the coming and the going, the body sensations. little bit of embodiment. Moving to your head. Putting the warm hands over the face, feeling the darkness. Rubbing a little. Fingertips across the scalp. Take the ears in the thumb and first finger and pull. Put the knuckle right at the bottom of the nose. And then lean forward. Stretching the back, chin back, eyes back. And inhale. And exhale to the left. Inhale. And to our right. And then inhale up and place the fingers behind. And exhale forward. Bring the shoulder blades together. Our whole nervous system is centered in the spinal cord right up to the occipital ridge. So this kind of stretching massages the nervous system. Turning to massages it. And the other way, slowly, attentively. Pay attention, concentrate. Then back, planting your tucked in fingers and circling so that you feel the stretch. Working with muscles that may have grown tight. And then change direction. Then stretching the spinal column and the side, just to the side, not twisting forward or backwards, just to the side. Opening up the vertebrae on top. And then change sides. And then bring the fingers laced behind the head. Open the arms wide and then and again wide. And then this whole massaging of the nervous system. Again, as you first come to one side, take your eyes as far around as you can, and then turn to the other side. And also, your eyes have a great deal of effect on our self-regulation. And coming back. Stretching up. And release. The shoulders. And release. And then do one thing that you know that's good for you while you're just sitting there. Maybe just Okay. So, here's the question. Can you carry it around, please? I'll try to speak loudly. Is it not working? There's still one right here.
There.
The only time would I'd ever be able to help with this. Okay, the question is, after hearing these perspectives, What do I need to care for myself? How do I need to care for myself and my community as the days unfold? After hearing these perspectives, what comes to me to care for myself and my community in these days going forward? And could you think of small things? There's a song which God was going to sing to us called Small Doings, Great Beyond, Great Beyond, Tiny Things. We can think of all this stuff. Wow, I'm going to reform myself or whatever we're going to do. But think of the small things. Need about 30 seconds to think. Okay, friends, let us hear from each other.
I just learned from my mom that if you put a butternut squash in the oven for 45 minutes and then cut it in half, flip it another 45 minutes, it's an insane amount of food that you have now. And it was really easy. I just put it in the oven and I flipped it. So I realized something I can start doing to care for myself and care for the people around me. Throw those in the oven, pack it for me and add it to whatever I'm going to eat that week, but I'm going to have a whole half I'm not going to eat. I can share that really easily with someone at work or one of my neighbors.
To me as an individual, I need to get involved. I've already been looking for things. I know there's going to be a women's march in January. I can't sit around. I have to find productive things to do to work on this. I don't remember when Angela Davis was, back in the 70s, she looked different. She was young, she had this big, beautiful afro. I just think all these decades later that she has to be up on stage talking about this stuff. In fact, we thought, we're the young baby boomers, we're going to, it was hippie times, civil rights. We thought things were just going to get better and better and more liberal. And how did this happen? When you ask for it.
First, I apologize because I always have a question, but I just wanted to share this because I'm very conflicted. I really love our practice of peace, but I feel like now is more of a time to be involved in representing what the values mean, not just what the policy and red versus blue tug of war seems to be. So I guess I'm asking is, how can I intentionally be a part of a movement that I feel is on the ground in terms of communication, and also fight the powerlessness of a dearth of all the morality that I was taught was right. I'm sorry. It resonates with me that I'm tired, but I'm invested, and I don't know where to put that energy now.
Hi, kind of randomly I was speaking directly to you with this kind of goes on what I was thinking about. Recently I've accepted that a lot of it is showing up for yourself, for myself, for my community, for people where I am, wherever I am, whether that's, getting involved with the union network, or, coming here, talking to people, being in communication and community with people, and also even just taking care of ourselves is big. Because as we're invested, we have to remunerate, because we're not individuals, and as much as we're not individuals, anything we do to show up is part of it.
Thank you for this opportunity to share the true story. You know, early in the week, I was leaving my home and I see my neighbor and I stopped and waved at him. We had a light chat. Thursday, I looked out. I came out of my condo and there was 3 police cars in the ambulance out there. And I went to ask the officer what was going on. And he said I couldn't divulge any information to you right now. So I just left that alone. And the following day, Friday, there was a woman standing in the driveway before this incident occurred. And I approached her and I asked her what was going on. And she said her daughter just died from a heart attack Thursday. And what I did, I offered my condolences and I offered my shoulder for that woman to cry on. And she did. And how do I cried with her? Because her daughter was 43 and my daughter is 44. And I could feel her pain. And that's what my practice does. It allows me to feel the pain and the suffering and offer aid and comfort and relief to those who are suffering. Because I've been relieved, freed from my own suffering. And I think I'm still moved by that. You know, that was the most humane, most human thing I could have done for her, is allow her just to cry and allow myself to cry with her. Thank you.
I'll try and project real loud from somewhere. There was 3 things in that clip that we watched that struck me. One was when the Tibetan monk said, "We keep thinking the Democratic Party is going to save us," and they haven't. And the second thing was capitalism, and the third thing was working class. What I took out of it and what I kind of realized is I would almost say I need to start thinking more outside of the box and stop looking at the traditional structure that keeps saying, we're going to save you, and yet they say it every single generation.
I got something. I've been thinking a lot about media literacy and the idea of really teaching that to kids and practicing it with them, teaching them to consider what they're hearing with a critical mindset as opposed to just accepting the headlines and sound bites and really questioning, like, why are they saying that? What have they done to support that? Who does that affect and how? And getting in the habit of talking through those questions with kids so that they start to question, because it's really, for better or for worse, on them as they grow into adults to start making the changes that we need to see happen.
To care for myself, community, I will continue coming back to my meditation practice, which I feel is very clumsy and new. I will read The Atlantic. I think they have, and free and independent journalism that is really keeping track of everything from, you know, like a federal circuit judge in Nevada to bits of legislation that might be rolled into budget, you know, and being informed. I've also thought of ways to help dispel shame, because that's been my personal work a lot. And I think that shame turned in and suffering turned inward can often come out as the hateful rhetoric, right? And giving others permission to let go of the shame by modeling the fact that I'm authentic, free of shame, and unapologetic. So I was just reading this book, Thich Nhat Hanh was talking about the Buddha had somebody get really angry at him, and he smiled, and I think it was in response to the Buddha said, a student questioned the Buddha, what would you kill? Would you be willing to kill anything? And he said, anger. And then someone got angry at him about something related to that question, or a student or something. And the Buddha sort of did not accept what energy the angry person was projecting. And I think the Buddha then said something like, well, if you don't accept a gift, then it has to go back to the receiver. So, yeah.
For myself, I am sleeping, I am eating better, and for my community, I'm trying to join community, and I am taking care of myself and my meditation practice. And there's one thing that I understand: you can't fight hate with hate. There's so many people suffering that I want to get myself together so I can help people.
As some of you who were here last week know, I've been encouraging us singing more, and hopefully we're going to establish a choir. It would be the third time we've had one in the 80s, and then in the early 2000s. And then I think in the 90s too, we had a choir, because there was someone who came forward to be able to do it. And so one of the people wrote a whole bunch of Buddhist songs, and this one, I just asked Gakko to do it about 15 minutes before the service. And she said yes. I said to her, Gakko, I have a crazy thing to ask for you, and I would want you to say no if you just don't want to do it. And she said yes. So here's Gakko with this wonderful song about, what is it? How does it go? The everyday ordinary is sacred. The sacred is everyday ordinary. Different words, but you'll see how it comes out in practical reasons with this, in practical ways with this song.
We have about 26 copies, and there's about 40 people, so some of us might have to share. I'm gonna sing the chorus so that you know it, and then we can all sing the chorus together. And please do join me, because I am not very comfortable singing. So it goes, small doings, great beings, tiny things, small doings, marvelous moments, Maharashtra chopped wood, fresh water, her son, his daughter,
my shoe, tied to do what's right in front of you. Small doings, radiant, radiant, tiny things. Small doings, marvelous moment. Maharashtra. Closed door, dry dish, scrub floor, eat fish, wash hair, if there, Buddha mind is everywhere. Small doings, radiant, radiant, tiny things. Small doings, marvelous moment. Maharashtra. Wet bread, push broom, change bed, vacuum, white feet, white seat. You are perfect and complete. Small doings, radiant, radiant, tiny things. Small doings, marvelous moment. Maharashtra. Fill pots, heat up, when hot, fill cup, sip tea, slowly. Mindfulness will set you free. Small doings, radiant, radiant, tiny things. Small doings, marvelous moment. Maharashtra.
One more time.
Small doings, radiant, radiant, tiny things. Small doings, marvelous moment. Maharashtra.
Going friends, we're getting to be pretty darn good. Okay, so please stand. And so do the 4 great vows and then our 3, and then the announcements. Okay. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of awakening.
The great way of awakening.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
And then let's turn as Magma Castro announcements.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mama.
Welcome to everyone. We have a few people here for the first time. So if you have any questions, we'll be in the lobby after the service, and you're welcome to ask anyone wearing gray. We have a wide variety of programming this fall and winter, and please visit our event sign-up area in the foyer to register. Included in that is following the election, we're offering a 1-hour listening session open to everyone. And in this session, we will discuss the practice of deep listening and offer space for each participant to share thoughts and feelings to be heard, and wrap up with reflections for practice going forward. Note that this session will emphasize listening rather than participant dialogue or crosstalk. So it'll be held 3 p.m. on Sunday, December 1st via Zoom, and please register your interest by using the sign-up sheet in the foyer. We'll be having an overnight introductory meditation class, which will begin at 7 p.m. on December 6th, which is a Friday, and conclude at noon on Saturday, December 7th. And every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m., we offer opportunities for work practice aimed at helping us maintain our temple building and grounds. And we consider hands-on work to be a vital aspect of our Buddhist practice. So as we care for the temple, we care for ourselves, and it's also a nice way to get to know other members of the Sangha. The temple currently has vacancies in our residential visitors program, and that's for people who want to spend some time living in a Buddhist community. They follow the daily schedule and participate in programs such as retreats, study groups, public services, and yoga classes as their schedules permit. And you can either seriously pursue your spiritual path or simply seek peace and harmony in a wholesome environment. And then finally, our fall fundraiser is in full swing. We're raising funds to improve the sound system in the Buddha Hall, replace the broken stone on our pathway on the front gate, continue our landscape plan, and support tuition, classes, training programs, residency, and peace camp. Thank you to everyone who has donated so far to the program. And there's different ways to donate by check, credit card, or on our website. So thank you for your participation in that.
And there's a board outside and little envelopes. If you want to do it by a check, you can just, we'll work with the, what is that called?
The square.
Yeah, it will work with the square too.
And Recovery Dharma is meeting today in the Yellow House next door right after the service. And then please come and introduce yourself. We will be in the foyer serving tea. Please move the mats and cushions. Keep the ones that are touching the carpet where they are, but all the other ones, the ones on this side can go into this corner, and the ones on that side can go up onto the platform.
So one other detail, if you resonated with the film that was shown today, there's a sign-up sheet. If you put your name on that, we will send you the link, and you can listen to the whole 2.5 hours if you want to. Yeah.
So our 3 bows. Just again, getting grounded right here, right now, with this. Interesting service. That's different.
Hi. night. Yes. Yeah.
Did you know you're?
Yeah.